Welcome to This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty, the number one destination for Seinfeld fans. This is Two Up and Two Down. Here's our producer, Chris, to start us off.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Two Up and Two Down. And today we got the stall. So should be a good one. Tony, let's go over to you. What's your first up?
The Stall, season 5, Larry Charles. This is about as good as it gets, folks. So many ups written down. We got to give 2 ups. We got to give 2 downs. That's not going to be hard for ups. I can go so many places here. I think the first up though is our introduction to Tony with Dan Cortez in the movie theater with Elaine. Oh, where's my popcorn, babe? I thought I was getting popcorn, babe. And then looks up, do you think if I jumped off the balcony, I'd get hurt? That's just right there, sets him up for everyone right there. Classic Dan Cortez, friend of the show. We can go a lot of places for ups here. I'll take that one. Just our intro to Tony and the whole, just where's my popcorn, babe? And then looking at the balcony. We've all been there. I think we got hurt if I jumped off that balcony. That's my first up.
Great mention there. Dan is probably one of my favorite guests that we've had on the podcast. So, yeah, good call. Chris, over to you. What do you have for your first up?
Yeah, there's plenty here. So, I'm going to take a character. The other date from that movie, Jamie Gertz, Jane, if you will, or Erica. I thought she was fantastic. I mean, one of my favorite lines of all sides is I sell paper goods, you jerk. I don't know why I love that line, but it was just fantastic. And she set the tone, right? First scene, right out of the gate, the spare square stuff. So Jamie Gertz was just, and she was, she looked straight and narrow. She played the part well and then had that other side, obviously, with the K-Man. So, we know her from the Lost Boys and everything, but boy, it's hard to. In this episode, there's only 2 guest stars, right? So, I mean, boy, did they both shine, and they were complete opposites, if you will, in just mentality and everything. But there was no letdown. They both brought it. To Tony's point with Tony, and then obviously, I think Jamie Gertz just, like I said, in a half-hour episode. She filled a lot of space, and there was no downturn. So, love to have her on the show someday. Jane, my first one up.
Great call there. Another great guest star. So, Tony, what do you got for your second up?
Second up, I'd be remiss. I mean, there's plenty of ups to choose from. So I think this whole scene, I'll just, George with the whole, turn his hat on backwards. Cortez told us that story.
The big story with that scene in the diner with George was show night when we were shooting it. We had done a take, went really well. Writers given a few notes. And then I remember Jason saying to me, he goes, "Hey, what do you think? Is it funny if when you turn your hat around, what if I turned my hat around?" And he took his like little hunting hat or whatever. It was like, whatever. And he turned it around, and I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, "Oh my God, do it!" But then I was like, "Who am I?" I think it's funny, but maybe
right.
Because Dixon. So he calls over Larry. He goes, "Larry, what do you think if after Dan turns his hat around, that when I start my line, I turn my hat around?" And he does it, and Larry looks at me and goes, "No, don't do it. It's not funny." So he's like, "Okay." So Jason looked at me again. He goes, "I think it's funny. Do you think it's funny?" I was like, "Yeah, I thought it was funny." So when we shot it, we did the next take. Jason did it. And I think they had told me later, I'd found out it was one of the longest laughs they had, if not the longest laugh that season. We held literally, because I think the take they used was the second take. But the first take, we sat there for a good 15 seconds because the audience just lost their mind. They couldn't stop laughing because he kept nodding his head and he sees a little bald spot, through his hat. So I remember Larry coming. I can't remember the exact quote, but I think it was something like "fuck you," and he's laughing because it was so funny and it got such a big laugh. He loved it.
You got bowling. Bowling's insane. Bowling's crazy time. You don't want to rush, drop a ball on your toe. You'll be seeing visions. And then to kind of carry that scene out when Kramer walks in, George is doing his thing, but Kramer's just so cool. Manana, just slips it right in. Where meanwhile George's getting a oil lance manata. Just shows the difference between the two of them and how Kramer can just slip right in and be friends with Tony. Love that dynamic. Love how Cortez just invites Kramer. Kramer just jumps right in. Manana, I'm doing nada. Jerry with the whole hat backwards. The whole scene right there just sets it all. Where George just looking at him like, just incredible. What a scene! It gives George and Kramer both a lot there too. So that's my second up.
And a great scene there in Monks. Yep. All right, Chris, over to you. What's your second up?
Yeah, I got plenty of ups here. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go Elaine. The last kind of scene there at her apartment. I thought she was excellent throughout, but I love when George comes to the door and Tony says, "You better step off, George." I love how she does that, and it's just, and then she does it twice, and then, oh, wait a minute, George, and she gives him the garbage. There was to your point, everything was hidden in this episode. There were no real down points, but I loved how she was and she gave, I love Tony's on her couch. He's got his sneakers on. They're probably all dirty. She doesn't care. She's feeding him. And all she cares about is the reconstructive surgery, the whole thing. So, and then George coming, that dynamic is great. Her trying to get rid of him and bringing back Step Off in only the way that she can. So, Lainey, second thumbs up.
Very good. Thank you, Chris. So now we're going to discuss the downs. Again, this is season 5 stall. Very tough. So, Tony, what's your first?
This is there with the smallest and hardest downs to find for me that we've done so far. These downs are just so silly, but listen, you got to find them. I don't love my downs are going to be low, guys. I'm sorry. They're going to be very just lines, 1 line or 2 lines here. This is the stall we're talking about. When Jerry does the callback to the massage, but waiting a while for this, and he has the hands. I don't know. I never liked the callback stuff. I thought it was kind of, just kind of slipped in there. Maybe Jerry even threw it out there as a, wasn't even in the script. Who knows? But it just seemed like I don't like that inside baseball. I don't like callbacks, that kind of thing. So that's it. That's my first down. The old callback on the massage episode.
Chris, over to you. What's your first down?
No, that is a legitimate down. I had it as well. It reminds me of DiMaggio's old saying that there's a kid out there who's going to be watching me for the first time. Meaning, someone could be watching this episode for the first time, doesn't get it. So, make it its own episode. Don't have that callback. But anyway, but to your point, tough to find downs. It's lines, and this line they didn't need it. When Jerry and Elaine are back in the car, and she's talking about "Are you ready to defrost your freezer?" That conversation, and then they just pivoted right back to hunky tone, which is great, but. The freezer defrost, I don't know. Maybe I was missing something from the scene before. I don't remember it. I don't remember her in the freezer. I don't know. Very unlike Larry Charles to just throw in a line like that and then steer back to what is important. So for me, freezer defrosting it line, first down.
Yeah, you're right. That comes way out of left field. So, yeah, I'll agree with that one. Tony, over to you. You had it written down?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can read that, but the frost in the freezer doesn't make any sense. Don't understand it. And
so your second down, Tony, if you will.
Yeah, I only wrote down 3. He just took my second. Your freezer. And then the other one I have written down, and this is another very small nitpick, but we pick up on these things as we're analyzing it, the continuity thing. When she asks where's the ladies' room, when they're back in Monks at the end of the final scene, when she asks where's the ladies' room, and then Kramer's like over there, and she knows where the bathroom is. She's been there already. We've already established that. Unless she's trying to play off, she's never been there before. Maybe that's what it is, but I don't love it. When the girlfriend asks, where's the ladies' room? Excuse me, and then goes into the bathroom. She knows where the ladies' room is. She's been in Monks. She's been in the bathroom. She couldn't spare a square. So a little continuity thing there, but I'm guessing if you had to ask, then they might say she was trying to act like she didn't know where the bathroom was, perhaps. But still, I got to find it down. That's it.
Thanks for pointing that out. And Chris, over to you. What's your second down?
I thought the Spare the Square was at the movie theater, but I could be wrong. But second down, stand up.
You are right, I think. Sorry to interrupt. I think you're right. I think I just screwed that all up.
That's all right. Listen,
You might have to cut that out.
No, I'm not cutting it
down?
out. That's my down. My down's down.
bottom line is Monk's not that big. So she should know what the bathroom is.
Exactly.
So anyway, second down. I didn't love the stand up was about a whale. It didn't fit, but I'm not going to use a stand up. I'll get the rock climbing. There's no way George and Kramer know how to rock climb, and they went up to this big thing without someone helping them. A little risky, I don't know. That's a really dangerous sport that Larry tried to do, and I heard, rumor has it Kramer was supposed to do some funky stuff that he regretted he didn't do, as far as jumping around the rocks and doing things to make it a little more edgy. But that was a little like, what are they doing? Rock? Like, I guess they had to do something where he would hurt himself really bad, but a little unrealistic. Funny, don't get me wrong, but a little unrealistic. So that second down.
Totally agree. George can't even do a Stairmaster in the gym, and he's climbing up a mountain there. All right, so let's do grades and comments. Tony, back to you. What's your grade?
Kind of been talking this up already. I mean, the grades. This episode's an all-time. We didn't even talk about the Jerry Kramer conversation. Is your whole world? Is your head spinning like a top? Can it, or is your entire world crashed out? I mean, incredible Kramer there. The Jerry impression. Hey, Tony, we didn't get there. I mean, that's an obvious one. I already talked about Manana Nada. O'Hara mentioned the George visiting Tony at Elaine's is an all timer. I think the ending is incredible. I usually give Larry Charles something on these endings where he kind of ties everything together, and it's sort of like this weird happy ending. This way it works. This ending, to O'Hara's point, when she says, "I sell paper goods, you jerk," watching this live, it sold me. I'm like, oh, it's not her, I guess. I don't know why. She said it so well, and just like, oh, I guess they screwed up. It's not even her. But then she comes back with the "don't call me" and "you don't call me either," Kramer, blows it all away. It is her. Just incredible episode. It is a flawless episode. It really is. And not only do you have all four on all four cylinders, but then you got the two guest stars, as O'Hara mentioned. You got Gertz and Cortez, two of the best you're going to get, delivered amazing in this episode. You got Larry Charles, season 5. I mean, this is peak prime Seinfeld. This is Don Mattingly, 1985. This is like prime career, exactly where you want to be, as good as it gets. The stall's an A+. There's no way around it. A+ for the stall.
Yeah, no issues with that grade from me. So, Chris, what do you got?
Cool guy. What are you, in 8th grade? Another great line by Jerry. The whole Mimbo stuff. Kramer as Andre. I mean, I love the 900 number. He's sneaking in Jerry's room to talk to these women, and he thinks they're so funny. And I love Kramer. Oh, her voice is flinty. Like, you're right. All four brought it. The two guest stars were phenomenal. The writing, the directing. Hey, babe, they said I'm coming along, and he's got his little straw. Everything about this episode is peak Seinfeld, to your point. You covered most of it. Impossible to argue. A+ for the stall. I mean, just a wonderful 35 million people watched this. It kicked off 1994, and boy, did it kick off a great year there. So, A+.
Oh, there you have it. So that's why season 5 is right up there with season 4. It's episodes like this one. So thank you guys, and we'll see everybody. Hope you join us for our next episode of 2 Ups and 2 Downs.